What's up, YouTube? It is me, the Artisan MC. And if you can hear me, give me a one in the chat, please, because this is acting goofy. Let's see. I don't like yelling into the phone, but it doesn't seem like it's picking up. All right, so like, share, subscribe, support the stream if you feel so inclined. It's almost 11 o'clock on a Friday night, which means it's about 1, 2 a.m. on the East Coast, so you guys are probably not going to see this until the morning time. But I have just finished watching Killers of the Flower Moon. That was the movie tonight. So I'm going to give you my reaction to it while I drive home. So like, share, subscribe, support the stream if you feel so inclined. The stream does not run on hopes and dreams. It runs on green, just like every other thing. So, what is Scorsese? 3 hours. Excuse me. I went through a lot of shit to get here for this movie tonight. I had a really rushed and just rushed, a really rushed day to get to the movie to see this movie today. And I saw it and I thought it was a bit interesting. Now, to be fair, I didn't know what this movie was about whatsoever. So I've gone into this movie as cold as you can go into it. I only know the director. I only do what he asked, and that was it. Everything in this movie was news out of the stuff that my coworker at work trying to tell me the story of these Native Americans from an old movie after I told him I was going to see this movie. And I didn't want to hear him give me what could have possibly been a spoiler on this movie, which some of it was. So thanks a lot for nothing. At 3 hours and 27 minutes, it could have been shorter. And I don't say that because it was 3 hours and 27 minutes long, but just thinking about the movie itself, there were parts that could have been cut out or cut down and condensed to make this at least under 3 hours. At least under 3 hours. I can understand wanting to do justice to these people and tell their story, what I would assume is faithfully, but I think it would have been better served if the movie was shorter and more digestible. It's just me. Did I think it was a bad movie? No, I didn't think it was a bad movie. Do you feel the runtime? Yes, you feel it. You fucking feel it. You have to be invested to know what's going on to want to keep sitting through that, but it could have been condensed. Could have been condensed a little more. Thinking of a couple scenes right off the bat that could have just been cut out altogether. Just flat out. So for the most part, I like Leo. I liked his acting in this. It took me a while to realize, but I kept thinking, looking at him after I realized it, that he looks like he's giving his impression of Marlon Brando in The Godfather. That face, that square jaw he's trying to have, that jutted forward chin. Godfather. Vito Corleone. Right? Now, Robert De Niro liked this role, hated his fucking character. Uh, dirty, 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 scandalous, motherfucker. Boy, grimy. Just some grimy shit was going on in this movie. It would almost be completely depressing to watch this movie if you didn't know it was a real story and this really happened to people. It would be completely depressing because stuff that went on was just some grimy shit. It was just some grimy shit. All over money. All over money. Lily Gladstone, I liked her. She looked beautiful. And she conveyed a lot through her eyes. She had lies, but at some point she didn't say much of anything. And it's just looks. And for some reason, she spent most of the the latter half of the movie just sick in bed. So I think there wasn't a lot to do for her, but I did like her performance because it was strong. Her performance was strong. You guys know when I look at actors and people in their eyes, I like big, expressive eyes and eyes that can transfer emotion, let you know what's going on. And that's what she did. So props to her. Uh, there were two cameos in this. Surprising to me, I was shocked when I saw them in the movie. You have to get to the tail end to see them, but they actually bring a little bit something to the roles that they play. But beyond that, the overall movie was about Native American tribe of the Osage Nation in Oklahoma. And on this piece of their land that they have in Oklahoma, I believe this was like the 1920s or something like that, maybe after First World War. Not sure. This movie does a shit job of informing you what the time frame actually is. Like, what year are you in? How many years have passed? It does a terrible job of doing that with a lot of quick cuts. And you still don't know what time frame you're in. You don't know shit. And it got towards the end of the movie before it was over, before I even found out what year they're actually talking about. Something happened. Like, oh, that was the year. Oh, thanks. Big help. But the Osage Nation actually find oil on their land. And a lot. And instead of doing what I think most people would do now, they let companies come in and excuse me, drill the oil out. Let them get the oil out, but they had to pay them for being on the land, land. And it created a boom for the Osage Nation. They came into a lot of money. All the Native Americans were now rich. having cars and stuff like that. And the closest thing I related to is the westernization of Japan when they started bringing the French and all those people in. So if you saw that period where Japan was, they depicted it in The Last Samurai, where the Japanese were letting in all the Westerners to learn about the Western culture and the Western ways. And it was clashing with their traditional ways, right? Because white folks bring their bullshit with them, right? Their corruption and all the rest of that shit. Well, this is what happened to the Osage in a way, that they start adopting all these, what they would call the white man's way, which is what it is, right? What the fuck is this? So they come into a lot of money. They got cars and stuff like that, but now they have a lot of freaking snakes around them, setting up businesses and farm industries off of them to help relieve them of the money that they have now. Now, the one part in this movie I'm not actually getting is the Osage got what was called an allotment of money. And the person that sat on these allotments of money was some white. Now, I'm not understanding, and the movie, for me, didn't do a good job of explaining that. Who the hell this guy is and why is he sitting on their money? It has to give them allotments of money. I don't get that. I don't get what was going on there. If it was a government entity or just a state government entity that was doing that, or if it was just somebody appointed by the other oil companies that were there. I don't know, but it seemed really funny to me. It didn't seem right to me. But because there's so many, piranhas around them now, the Osage, a lot of people start finding ways to try to help relieve them of this money. And one of the ways they did it was by getting these young men to marry some of these pure blood Native American Osage women. Because in the line of succession, they inherit a shitload of money. So you introduce Robert De Niro's character of Bill, what was his last name? I want to say Lanky, but they called him King, and him bringing his nephew there to Oklahoma on his cattle ranch on Osage Nation land, and kind of pushing him towards and setting him up with one of these Osage women that stand to inherit a lot of money when her mother passes. And he's done this for his other nephew and some other folks as well. That what you see is all these white men coming in and marrying these Native American women, having these babies, and trying to get themselves close to the money. And they was freaking lazy people. Now, this is not unheard of. This is something that females do, men do all the time to get close to people that have money. It happens. It happens all the time. The first time I think you're seeing it on film happen with Native American and white guys doing it. Because part of what they were doing once they got married to these women were poisoning them or killing them to get them out the way. So now the guy gets the money. Grimy shit. Some grimy shit. Now, that is the gist of the movie. That's it. That's the gist of the movie. The gist of the movie is seeing what Leonardo DiCaprio's character of Ernest Burkhart, Robert De Niro's character's nephew, how he has married this woman Molly, Molly Kyle, or Molly Burkhart, after she married him, who stands to inherit a bunch of money after all these sisters, the mother and the sisters, have died off. And not even died off, been killed off. Like legit. A lot of these women, it was happening to a lot of these women. Now, because this is actually a true story, I'm curious of how many men got killed during this, because you start this story with Molly Kyle and her mother being sickly and everything else, and they have diabetes. So it's in the old early 1900 eras, right? So no insulin, they just, sick and shit. But they talk about her father, Molly's father, dying. So there's no father in the family. Now there's a bunch of male Osage elders around, but you don't hear about any of them really dying, which I think would not be historically accurate to me. I think they would go after killing the men first. I think. Just me. But be that as it may, a lot of these women get killed off in some gruesome ass ways. And everybody that works in this town of Fairfax, Oklahoma, all these white men are actually part of this deal. From the doctor who's giving them medicine and stuff like that, to King, who was supposed to be a friend to the Osage and watch these people grow up and shit like that, and secretly plotting to get they land and they money from them by getting them married up and killed. I mean, it's some grimy ass shit. Just some grimy shit. All the way down to the Undertaker. All the way down to the Undertaker, charging them overcharging them for burials and shit like that of these people they killing off. Because they just gone, get the money out of them one way or another. I'm like, holy shit, dude, this is just diabolical. This is some diabolical sick shit. So that's the gist of the movie. The movie is following Leonardo DiCaprio's character of Ernest, how he gets involved with his uncle, helping kill off all these goddamn people for their money. And his wife, Molly, dealing with all of this and watching her family, her sisters, her mother die off of mysterious sicknesses and shit like that, like one after the other. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, it's fucked up, is what it is. It's really fucked up. And one of the other parts in it that was actually more so fucked up, to let you know the scale of how this stuff is happening. There is a newsreel that plays during the movie, right? And the characters are watching it. And what are they watching? The bombing. Tulsa, Oklahoma bombing of the black folks. How they destroyed that city. And it's kind of odd that the people who are in this town, the white folks that are in this city, killing off these Native Americans and sitting there watching this Tulsa, Oklahoma thing, and how it's supposed to be blamed on just all black folks. Like, it's a black town. They didn't bomb themselves, right? So I thought that was a little bit of a poignant point to throw that in there. along with a couple of jabs at blaming certain things on Negroes, because of course they had the Klan show up in the shit too, while all this, slow genocide of these people are happening. So it was interesting, and I found out it was a true story before going to see it. Like this morning, I found out that it was a true story, which had me more intrigued to see what was going on with this. And right in the beginning, while I'm watching this, I kept thinking about the English, that show, The English, on Amazon Prime, and how they showed the horror, in some senses, of what happened to Native Americans, and how white folks and Europeans, mostly them, came here and just really tried to wipe their ass out and take whatever they had. Even the little bit that they gave them, as soon as you found something valuable on it, they wanted that too. It's like, Jesus Christ, dude. It's like watching somebody move into your house and make you the maid in it. Fucked up. Now, because of the tempo of the show, or the movie, it will put you to sleep. If you're not invested, it'll put you to sleep. Because tempo is slow and there's not a lot of action, right? But if you only go to movies for action, you probably wouldn't be in this fucking movie anyway. Because it would be too slow for you. But for the most part, it was interesting. It was an interesting feel in this movie to see how it played out. I have to say though, there was a line in the movie given by Robert De Niro about how smart the Osage were. That they didn't talk a lot, but they watched and paid attention to everything. And that they didn't trust the white man. But all these Osage were getting killed off by these white folks in this town. All of them was involved in shit, right? They even threw Masons under the bus in this movie. But none of the Osage were actually thinking it was those people sitting right in their midst. They was thinking it was some of the other people that came to work on these oil wells and shit like that. But not thinking about it's the ones who now sitting in their powwow circles and shit. Like, you making them out to be really fucking stupid. I mean, technically, that's what you're doing. You're making them out to be really stupid. Like, the way people were getting clipped off in this, it was like you had to know who was involved. You had to. But given a time frame, information travels slowly. You ain't there. There's no internet. There's no, put it on the gram and everybody got to see the person's face who did the shit. No, it was a bunch of grimy shit happening, and Leonardo DiCaprio's character was right in the middle of it, doing it. And the absolute worst shit that he was doing outside of grave robbing and robbing the Indian, outside of all of that shit, was him poisoning his wife at his uncle's behest, working with the doctors. Just flat out poisoning her. Slow death. It's like, that's some grimy shit. Some really grimy shit. And she stood by that motherfucker. She stood by him. Even though she felt something was wrong, she still stood by that motherfucker. I was like, get the fuck out of here. She should have left. started getting sicker after he started giving you shots, I would stop taking the goddamn shots. It would seem pretty fucking obvious what's going on here. Whatever's in this shot is fucking making me worse. Stop giving me the fucking shots. Diabetes or not. Maybe I'll stop eating all this what they were saying was a white man's food, all this sugary shit, syrups and taffy and all this other shit that we know in this day and age is what kills us. We know that. It gives us diabetes. So our black folks die of it so quick. So it was a yarn. I can tell you that. It was something that makes you think about all this interlocking groups and companies and stuff like that, if in fact they are not working with each other to make sure you die off. And they get whatever you have that they want. So that's why I say watching a movie could be pretty depressing. But watching it does at least a little justice to the people who actually did die during that shit, because you at least know their stories. If you don't know their name, you know the story of what happened. And by knowing, you're at least somewhat aware now, so you can see the signs of this shit happening around you. Put it that way. But so fucked up. It was a really fucked up thing. That was really fucked up. Now, because it centered on women, you would think that it was really woke. It wasn't woke. What was happening to women, but the focus of the movie was not on the women. It was on the men who were doing this shit. It was on them. The women were there, but it wasn't necessarily all about them. What you saw was how much certain people can get away with murder legit without doing any time, and how certain entities will look the other way if you've actually paid them enough money. I've said it for a long time. America is not racist. They like green just like anybody else, because that's the only color they give a shit about. And I didn't see anything in this movie to deter me from that belief. Nothing. So, was it a good movie? In a manner, in a way, yes, it was a good movie. Would I recommend you go see it, or would I run out to go see it again? Not at 3 hours. I love Dune. I didn't see it twice in the theaters. Took too long to sit in the theater and watch. So I give props to Martin Scorsese for actually making this movie, because I can imagine nobody really wanted to see that shit, which is probably why you'll never see a Tulsa, Oklahoma movie. But that's some rough shit. That's some rough business that was happening to these folks. So that's it. It's 11:16. I just got home, so I'm gonna get out this car, go in the house, and get on with watching Loki, I guess. Whatever, Ray, you too late. You do it every time. You come through when I'm closing out. So Killers of the Flower Moon. Good movie, but I would recommend you watch it at home in the comfort of your own home when it comes on. Apple gave money to this movie, so it'll probably be on Apple TV before anybody else. So if you have Apple TV, hook it up. There's some other good shows on there too, and they less than Disney Plus. I can tell you that much. So they're looking like a sweet deal. Um, but yeah, that's it. So I will see you guys next time, perhaps. Peace.